Euler. I'm with the 21st Ohio, and we had some really good events this year. And I just want to basically say, how important a group like SCAR is, because really, we present what every other reenactor in the Southeast, really, the union side especially, what there is lacking. I've been in reenacting for forever. In fact, when I went to Gettysburg, I think I was the only one in the group that had been at the 121st, or 125th exactly. Excuse me. But we're looking forward to Bentonville. We're having our business meeting next week, and we're going to try and rally quite a few folks to go out there. So anyway, SCAR's great. Got a big thumbs up, and we'll have a great year.
Thank you, Chip.
At, what's the one in Arkansas? The week-long one.
Red River.
Red River. I will be there, but I will be in command of a cavalry squadron. So I'll be riding rings around. I'm not going 1 week without riding a horse. Thank you. You're welcome. I would like to go to Madrid, except for one slight problem. It's my wife's birthday, and I don't go anywhere. But I would vote for that one if we could. The other one, Conifer, I have looked at it, I've driven by it. It would be a great one to go to also. Thank you.
Oh, hand me down my riding cane, for I'm gonna see my darling Jane. And the hot guy, hooray, run Nobby with his hot guy. Roll ashore with a hot guy, oh, she wants the hot guy man. Now who's been here since I have been gone, but a railroad Nobby with his sea boots on. And the hot guy, hooray, run Nobby with his hot guy. Roll ashore with a hot guy, oh, she wants the hot guy man. Oh, Sally's in the garden picking peas, a golden hair hanging down to her knees. And the hot guy, hooray, roll Nobby with his hot guy. Roll ashore with a hot guy, oh, she wants the hot guy man. Well, Bernie's in the garden picking sand, and Sally's in bed with a hot guy man. And the hot guy, hooray, roll Nobby with his hot guy. Roll ashore with a hot guy, oh, she wants the hot guy man. Oh, a hot guy ship and a hot guy crew, a hot guy mate and a skipper too. And the hot guy, hooray, roll Nobby with his hot guy. Roll ashore with a hot guy, oh, she wants the hot guy man.
Hey everybody, sorry I wasn't able to make tonight. I hope everyone's having a great time, and I hope everybody's enjoying the shots of Obie Joyful that Jim said were on him tonight. The 2014 season really flew by for me. I hope everyone had a special moment that transported them back to the 19th century. I was fortunate enough to have several of those moments with some of you and others whom we're all acquainted with in the hobby. 2014, in my opinion, was a huge success for SCAR for a number of reasons. One, we really got some distance this year by collectively making the trip to several events, down to Olustee. Then we went on to Bermuda 100, Resaca, and Franklin. With Bermuda 100, we had the privilege of working with some folks that had never heard of us before, and their first impressions of us just blew their minds. And it blew their minds to the point that they will be joining us again for some events in the 2015 season. The weather at Resaca managed to teach a valuable lesson to many across the campaigner and progressive community. They learned real quick that you cannot call yourself a campaigner unless you're willing to campaign in any situation. I and many others were pretty disappointed when pretty much the entire battalion decided to pack up and leave due to the rain. I was pleased, however, to see that the very last company to leave the field after the battalion had disbanded was SCAR. Every single member of the SCAR company was present, and for that, I thank you, and I am very grateful for your dedication. This single action alone proves to the community that SCAR sets a standard for how a campaigner conducts themselves in any situation. So, before I move on to the future of SCAR, I'd like to speak for a few minutes about the future of the hobby in general. 20 years ago, when I started reenacting, the hobby was thriving. A person could go to an event every weekend if they wanted to, and it wouldn't be surprising to see more than 300 participants there. Of course, this is based upon my experience of growing up doing mainstream events in Ohio and Indiana. National events always drew thousands from all spectrums of the hobby, and everyone was willing to work together to make the event successful. There weren't two separate Gettysburgs. There weren't two Franklins. There was one national event, and everybody worked together towards the common goal. Unfortunately, today that isn't the case. There's some major divisions within the mainstream community and our authentic community as well. And until leaders within the hobby start to learn to communicate better and work together, there's going to be a continuous decline because people are just fed up with the drama. So, besides the aforementioned, what else is bringing the hobby down? It's what I like to call a little thing called theme camping. This is where you do the same event over and over again in a different location every weekend. This is a constant problem within the mainstream community. Does it happen within our wing of the hobby? It sure does, but not to the same extent. I learned a long time ago that the hobby is like a computer. What I mean by this is that within a month's time, information can become outdated. There's always new historical information being discovered to improve our knowledge of material culture, improve our overall impressions, and create better events. This is why it's so important for us in the progressive community to continue to push the envelope and do new things so we don't burn ourselves out. After all, how can we call ourselves progressives and not expect others to do the same if we ourselves are not progressing? This is the number one thing that sets us apart from the mainstream community, and is the reason why some within the mainstream community wanted to come over to our side of the hobby. If we continue to push ourselves to better our personal impressions, our messes will grow, and ultimately SCAR will grow. So how does SCAR get out there and bridge the gap and swell our ranks? We work with the mainstream community. This doesn't mean that I'm advocating that the whole of SCAR should put a mainstream event on our schedule. Yes, we should participate by doing adjuncts, but I do view this as being entirely separate, as we are among like-minded reenactors. Should we go out and do mainstream events? Yes, but as messes, falling in with some good mainstream units. This shows the mainstream community that we're not the cool kids that are too good to do their events, plus provides an opportunity to teach. It allows us to intermingle. And if by the end of that event you're able to teach one or two ways for a person to improve their impression, the event was a success. The reason why I feel that the whole of SCAR should not support local mainstream is because we then in turn become that large company of cool kids, as we're called these days, that everyone is afraid to approach and is too good to be in the mainstream company. Besides, SCAR is an umbrella organization, and it is up to the messes to increase their numbers. If someone from a particular region is looking for a progressive unit to join, I would hope that the messes would work together and say, hey, I know this mess from near your hometown that you could join. That's great networking skills right there. So what about the future of SCAR? In my short time in SCAR, I've noticed that there are two separate groups. Group 1, who is looking out for the interests of our organization, and Group 2, who is looking out for the interests of others. I'm not trying to say that we should not support other groups and work with other groups, but when it comes down to choosing to supporting another organization versus supporting SCAR, it becomes a problem. That right there to me has the appearance of someone just riding on the coattails of the SCAR name. Every mess within SCAR has a voice. If there is an event that you would like us to collectively support, present it to the SCAR committee. In the past year, there have only been 1 or 2 people to present events to the SCAR committee. Most of these are presented because we have been invited to someone else's event, or because a committee member is organizing something within the progressive or authentic community. When they're presented, we often see some messes not even vote for it because they're supporting something else for another group. And if you want the full support of SCAR for the event that you're attending, you should have presented it to the SCAR committee for a vote. It is my understanding that from the early beginnings of SCAR, the rule was for messes to have at least 3 members support 3 max effort events annually. This hasn't been the case within the past couple of years, that I have seen anyways. We need to seriously start holding ourselves accountable to these rules because once the standard has been lowered, that becomes the new standard. With the final year of the 150th cycle, I think SCAR needs to focus on a few things. 1. Do away with our Facebook open forum page and create a community page like what the Authentic Campaigner has. Make all of the committee members admins, and then in turn we can use it like a news feed in addition to our website. This way we can keep the community up to date with SCAR information. The reason I say this is because there's way too many non-SCAR members that are on our Facebook page that see discussions that are not intended for them to see and does not need to be disseminated to the rest of the community.
Okay, so basically I'm picking up where Tyler's presentation ended. The second thing he wanted to do, he said we need to vote to seriously consider having more than one time to vote on events. By waiting until the fall of every year, it can oftentimes be too late for people to adequately prepare their impressions. If an event we vote on, say in December, we make the decision in November, so it's not giving people time to vote on that. Maybe we should do, he's suggesting quarterly voting. The third thing, holding messes accountable if they're not attending up to the 3 max effort events that they agreed upon when joining SCAR. Fourth, work more towards active recruiting. Perhaps all of the individuals who often support SCAR should be encouraged to create messes based upon their geographic location. Number 5, work on better company drill, work on building up our NCO and officer pool. Maybe an annual weekend devoted solely to company drill, school of the NCO, and the company officer is in order. Knowledge of basic marching, company, and battalion evolutions is sorely lacking in the hobby, and SCAR is no exception. Last, number 6, to work on our overall individual impressions. To reiterate from his earlier statement, we are progressives, let's progress. And last thing he has on here, we need to all remember what SCAR is and who we are. We would love to again see the same SCAR that he first remembered seeing at the Abilene SCAR back in 2001.